The Honourable David Parker.
Mr Chairman, I want to begin by referring to Clause 11, which is one of the issues that the Minister, the Attorney-General, Mr Finlayson, referred to in his opening remarks on this part, and he talked with some pride about the common marine and coastal area being accorded a special status, which Clause 11 of the bill achieves, and in subclause 2 it says neither the Crown or any other person owns or is capable of owning the common marine and coastal area as in existence from time to time after the commencement of this part. Now, Mr Chairman, this is all really a discussion about words, because what really determines what this means is the bundle of rights that different people have in respect to that common marine and coastal area. And if that doesn't change, then what you call it, whether you call it Crown area or whether you call it a space that's not capable of being owned by anyone, actually doesn't matter. It's just words. In reality, the Crown still regulates what occurs in respect of this area. So if there are environmental effects, then those have to be assessed in terms of the legislation which controls development in those areas. And in reality, this legislation, as the current legislation, protects people's rights of access, free access, over those areas, so that doesn't change as a consequence of this legislation. All people have fishing rights in respect of these areas, these common marine and coastal areas, so that doesn't change. All people have navigation rights, and so that doesn't change. No people have private rights to mine for oil and gas, because those were nationalised back in 1937. That doesn't change. So very little changes as a consequence of this change of terminology from it being vested in the Crown, as my colleague Shane Jones said earlier in an earlier submission to the committee, as the putative owner, effectively holding it on behalf of the people of New Zealand, subject to the different rights that different groups of people have. So this change from being Crown land to being held by the Crown on behalf of New Zealand is subject to different rights in respect of different groups, including the rights of Maori to have their customary interests recognised. This change from that Crown holding it to no one owning it is an illusory change. It makes no difference. It's a legal fiction, and it makes no difference in practice. And so it should be seen to that. It's not objectionable. It's not objectionable except to the extent that it's a pretence to be a change when it isn't a change. And that's where our objection arises to this, because for this to be accepted by the Maori Party as settling their grievance seems to me to be ridiculous, because this is but a fiction. So, Mr Chairman, I would invite the Minister and the Chair to actually acknowledge that really what you call this area is less relevant than the bundle of rights that everyone has in respect of that area, and to acknowledge that the change from this being held in the Crown name on behalf of New Zealanders, subject to all of the different rights and responsibilities of the different bundles of rights that I have earlier described, makes no difference in practice. Mr Chairman, I want to raise another issue, which is the access clause and the clause that is being amended by the Minister. And I would note again that there are a large number of amendments in the Minister's supplementary order paper which infringe the warning given by the New Zealand Law Society that these things should have been made public, so that there was an opportunity for public scrutiny sufficiently in advance so that people can get an idea, can raise any concerns that they have. That would normally be done following the Select Committee report incorporating the amendments recommended by the Ministry in their 500-page departmental report. But of course, because that process was so improperly truncated by government members, we don't have the ability to do that, and so, we didn't have the ability to have that advice from the Select Committee to this House of Parliament or to the Committee of the Whole, and we're reliant therefore on the supplementary order paper which raises these new issues. Now, in respect of the access clause, I actually prefer the new wording of the Ministers to that which is proposed by Hilary Calvert for a number of reasons. One, I think it's easier to read. But secondly, I think that Hilary Calvert's amendment goes too far. and I would like to go into that in some detail, and that she says that, Mr Chairman, Hilary Calvert's amendment says that to avoid doubt, neither a customary marine title group nor an applicant group is entitled to charge or collect fees or other form of payment from any person for the use, and I emphasise use, or occupation of any part of the coastal marine area. Now, the Minister's amendment makes it clear that you can't be charged for access, but Hilary Calvert's amendment goes a lot further and says that you can't charge for any use. And that, of course, makes a nonsense of the ACT Party's argument that if there are property rights to be recognised, then those property rights are for the holder of those rights to use. And if someone else was to be able to come along and to actually use that right that was the subject of a customary marine title without payment of charge to the person whose right that was, it would make a mockery of the whole thing. So, I'm afraid that I would like the ACT Party to take a call and explain how that would be right, because I understand that your property rights logic for opposition to this bill, but that you say that people that have got a extant customary interest in the foreshore and seabed should have it recognised and should be able to utilise it for their personal benefit as anyone else can utilise their property right. I find it absolutely irreconcilable that you could take that position and then say, oh, I'm sorry, but anyone else can use that free. So, for example, if it was a right to extract a mineral that hasn't been nationalised, for example, we know that there is some suggestion that there are areas of the foreshore and seabed where there may be customary title interests in under seabed minerals, be it iron sands or other minerals. And by saying that, I'm not saying that the Taranaki iwi are correct to say that they've got extant rights. But somewhere in New Zealand there will be extant rights to minerals. And it would be a nonsense if someone else could come along and have the right to use that part of the common marine and coastal area for their private benefit to the exclusion of the person that owned it. So I think that subclause 5 goes too far in the part of the ACT Party. I agree with the Minister's amendment. I think that is fair to settle down concerns, be they, as he put with good intent or mala fides. But I don't agree with the amendment proposed in Supplementary Order Paper number 210 by the ACT Party member Hilary Calvert for the reason that I've outlined. So in respect of that issue, Mr Chairman, the Labour Party will be voting against the ACT Party amendment. We will, if we had the opportunity to vote separately in respect of that particular amendment and the Minister's amendment, we would vote for it. But it's probably going to be put, as is the Minister's right, along with all of the Minister's other amendments, many of which we disagree with, and so we're going to be forced to vote against that as a part of a wider motion. But I would just note for the record that we approve of the change to that particular wording in that clause relating to access that is promoted by the Minister, but oppose the change made by Hilary Calvert. Mr Speaker, there are many, many other changes made to this part too. The first of them is referred to in the supplementary order paper on page 5, and it records in subclause 2 that we're omitting the word part and we're changing the word to act, so that the meaning of this changes so that this comes into effect from the commencement of this act rather than the commencement of this part, and that seems okay, as do the changes to subclauses 3 and 4. In terms of subclause 5, I'm not sure what the effect of this is. There is a deletion of clauses of subclause 5, lines 20 to 37 on page 23, and substitution of very similar wording. And one of the difficulties that we have when at a supplementary order paper that runs to 74 pages, I think from memory, 73 pages, as close to the next readings of this bill as this one has been, that it's difficult for us to get our heads around each and every one of these little changes. So I asked the Minister to explain what is the difference in effect in clause 11, subclause 5, which seems to be substantially reproduced in the supplementary order paper, but seems to to differ in the addition of a subparagraph F, which isn't in the original version of the bill that came to the Select Committee.
The Honourable John Boscowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The ACT Party has a number of amendments to this part of the bill and a number of issues to raise. And, Mr. Chair, let me start by this first call by saying I hope that we have the